melody of Kol Nidre, the music, as we prepare for this holy day of Yom Kippur. I invite our rabbinic fellow, Tobias Devak-Mas, to join us.
An introductory prayer for Kol Nidre, written by my teacher's teacher, Rabbi Marshall T. Meyer. As we listen to the melancholic and shattering melody of Kol Nidre, O God, help us to measure our words and to find the courage and strength to be faithful to our resolve. Grant us strength to bridge a bit more of the gulf that separates our goals from our achievements during the coming year. On this day of atonement, help us to look into the most profound depths of our being, so as to better comprehend the truths of our existence and to be capable of more improvement. Our God and God of our ancestors, as evening casts its shadow over the earth, ushering in the most solemn and sublime day of the year, we meet with our fellow Jews throughout the entire world in prayer and meditation. Let us cast aside from our minds and souls all petty thoughts and vain desires. What is our life, and to what avail our strength? What is our wealth, and to what purpose our power? We lift up our souls, O God, and yearn for your light and inspiration. On this evening of Kol Nidre, sanctified by the memories of countless generations of the past, we find ourselves in your presence, O God, stripped of all pretension and naked in all our weakness. You know well how frail and fragile we really are. God, strengthen us to overcome our weaknesses. Help us find the strength to encounter you in our lives and to courageously confront the truth of our being. Help us to open our hearts and souls so that we may not only hear our own cries, but also the call and the weeping of the enslaved, the oppressed, the hungry, the desperate, the suffering, and the forgotten. In this spirit, vibrating to these chords, we rise for Kol Nidre.
We're on page 204. בישיבה של מעלה ובישיבה של מטה. על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל אנו מתירים להתפלל עם עבריינים.
By the authority of the court on high and by the authority of this court below, with divine consent and with the consent of this congregation, we grant permission to pray with those who have transgressed.
בישיבה של מעלה ובישיבה של מטה. על דעת המקום ועל דעת הקהל אנו מתירים להתפלל עם עבריינים. קול נידרה, first הקפה, page 205.
Kol Nidre Vesare Vachrame Vekoname Vechinuye ושבועות. שביטין בטלין ומבוטלין לא שרירין ולא Kayamin nidrana la nidre vesarana la esare שבועתנה לשבועות.
Second continue. Kol Nidre Vesare Vacharmei Vekonamei Vechinuyei Vekinusei
שבועות. דין תורנו
Third Kol Nidre.
Kol Nidre Vesare Vachar וכינוסי ושבועות דין דורנו כגודל חסדך וכאשר נסעת לעם הזה ממצרים ועד הנה ושם נאמר ויאמר אדוני צדקתי כדבריך ויאמר אדוני צדקתי כדבריך ויאמר אדוני צדקתי וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה
Rav Soloveitchik used to say that the whole service of Kol Nidre, of Kippur, is to be able to hear Vayomer Adonai Salachti Kidvarecha, so you can go home. Really, the work just begins. And we begin with a very special privilege for me, and a very blessing for me. Very few rabbis can have that privilege to introduce to you the new BJ Rabbi, Rabbi Erin Glazer. So if you haven't met her, here she is. Be nice to her. I want to remember that when I started some 24 years ago, now I can say it was terrifying. So kind words, smiles, go a long way. Rabbi Glazer.
Come see how hard it was at the hour of Moshe's departure from the world. For when God called him to the mountaintop and told him, "Your time has come to depart the world," Moshe began to scream and cry. He asked God, "Master of the universe, was it for nothing that I labored? Was it for nothing that I worked like a horse for your children? Now shall my end be the grave? Better afflict me with suffering, but don't hand me over to the pangs of death." Moshe drew a small circle around himself, stood in it, and said, "Master of the universe, I will not budge from here until you void that decree." He wrapped himself in sackcloth, covered his head with ashes, and persisted in prayer and supplications before the Holy One. Moshe's prayer was like a sword, ripping and tearing, and nothing could stop it. God had it proclaimed that every gate of every firmament be bolted so that Moshe's prayer not be accepted. The decree concerning him had been sealed. In that instant, Moshe said to the Holy One, "Master of the universe, you know how much trouble and pain I suffered on account of Israel until I inculcated among them the Torah. I said to myself, as I witnessed their woe, so will I be allowed to witness their happiness. Let me enter the land, live there 2 or 3 years, and then die." God responded, "I have resolved that you will not go there. Master of the universe, if you will not let me enter the land of Israel, allow me to remain alive like the beasts of the field or the birds of the sky. Let me be like one of these." At that, God replied, "Enough. Speak no more to me of this matter." Moshe said to God, "Master of the universe, shall the feet that went up to the firmament, the face that confronted the presence, the hands that received the Torah from your hand, shall these now perish?" The Holy One replied, "Such was my design from the very beginning, and such must be the way of the world. Each generation is to have its own interpreters of Torah. Each generation is to have its own leaders. Until now, it had been your portion to serve me, but now your disciple Joshua's portion to serve has come." Moshe said to the Holy One, "Master of the universe, rather than dying to leave my post for Joshua, let me be his disciple, and he shall be my master. Just don't let me die." God said, "If that's what you wish to do, go right ahead." When the people said to Moshe, "Moshe, our teacher, teach us Torah," he replied, "I no longer have the authority." They said, "We will not leave until you teach us." Then a divine voice came forth and commanded the people, "Be willing to learn from Joshua." With that, the people submitted to the command to sit and learn from Joshua's mouth. In that instant, Moshe cried out in anguish and said, "Rather 100 deaths than a single pang of envy. Master of the universe, until now I sought life, but now my soul is surrendered to you." Moshe pleaded one last time. Let me at least glimpse the promised land. God responded, in this point, I will comply with your wish. God thereupon imparted such strength to Moshe's eyes that he could see all of the land. What lay in the deep appeared to him above. The hidden was plainly in view. The distance was close at hand, and he saw everything. God told him, only half a moment remains for you to depart. Moshe hurried, please wait until I bless Israel. On account of the warnings and reprimands I heaped upon them, they never found any ease with me. Then he began to bless each tribe separately. But when he saw that time was running short, he included all the tribes in a single blessing. Then he said to Israel, because of the Torah and its precepts, I troubled you greatly. Now please forgive me. They replied, our master, you are forgiven. In their turn, they said to him, Moshe, our teacher, we troubled you even more. We made your burden so heavy. Please forgive us. Moshe replied, you are forgiven. Then from the highest heaven of heavens, God announced, the moment for your departure from this world has arrived. At that, the Holy One came down to take the soul of Moshe. The Holy One kissed Moshe and took his soul with that kiss. At that moment, the Holy One wept and said, V'lo kam navi od b'Yisrael k'Moshe. No prophet again arose in Israel like Moshe. No prophet again arose in Israel like Moshe, and yet Moshe, our greatest prophet, was completely unprepared to confront his death. Moshe, like any of us, passes through Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's famous 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally, acceptance. If even Moshe was completely unprepared to face his own mortality, isn't it too much to ask of us? And yet confrontation with the ultimate unimaginable is in many ways what Yom Kippur is about. As my teacher, Rabbi Larry Hoffman, puts it, on Yom Kippur, you are in a dress rehearsal for your own death. You're wearing white, you are wearing a kittel, which is what you're buried in, you're fasting. And most significantly, the Torah scrolls are removed from the Aron HaKodesh. It's as if you're looking into an Aron, a casket. You're staring at this empty wood box, and you're dressed in white, and you're saying a confession. If that isn't your deathbed, I don't know what is. And so, having stood before the empty Aron, clad in white, feeling perhaps the beginning pangs of hunger, we find ourselves aware once again of that terrifying reality that each of us will eventually die. The question is, what do we do with this heightened awareness? What can we learn? For some of us here tonight, this question of how we might respond when faced with death is not a hypothetical one. For some of us, Moshe's story sounds all too familiar. 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, a type of blood cancer. I was in my 30s with a husband, an 18-month-old daughter, and a great job as a rabbi in New Jersey. Joe and I had just accepted exciting new positions in Washington, D.C., and bought a new home. In the midst of planning for our move, I felt a lump in my neck, and after a whirlwind of doctor's appointments, the phone rang with the biopsy results. It was cancer. I never imagined that this would be part of my journey. We moved to DC and I started chemo the same week I started my new job. The doctors explained that I would need a combination chemotherapy regimen that was highly effective, and that a few months later, when my treatment was finished, I would be in remission and eventually cured. It was scary, but I had a plan. And then that plan fell apart. Despite a clear PET scan at the midway mark, the scan 1 month after my treatment ended revealed that the cancer had returned. My doctors determined that the type of Hodgkin's I had was particularly aggressive and that I needed more rounds of chemo and a stem cell transplant. After 3 more months of chemotherapy treatments, Joe and I returned to New York for the stem cell transplant. We said goodbye to our young daughter, who would live with my sister and brother-in-law and their 2 kids in Virginia for 6 weeks, while I was sequestered in the hospital's bone marrow transplant unit. My stem cells were collected and kept frozen until the day of the transplant. For 6 days, I received incredibly strong chemotherapies that destroyed the cancer and my body's immune system. On the 7th day, the chemo stopped. And as I rested, my doctor returned my own stem cells to my body. Very biblical. 5 weeks later, I left the hospital for the first time, bald and weak, with a compromised immune system and an abiding fear that even this invasive treatment wouldn't work, that the plan once again would fail. It would take another full year before my doctors declared the transplant a success. Several times during my treatment, from the day of my diagnosis until the 1-year mark after the transplant, I found myself holding Joe's hand or sitting with my daughter on my lap, imagining their lives without me. 2 years earlier, these thoughts were the farthest thing from my mind. And yet, despite facing the unimaginable, over and over again, I challenged myself to figure out how I might do cancer well. How could I get through the grueling treatments and at the same time keep living with intention? How could I get over my natural inclination towards privacy in order to share my story with my community and then not feel so alone? How could Joe and I support each other when suddenly I was a patient and he was a caregiver? How could we be parents throughout the treatments and the long recovery that followed so that our daughter could feel safe and loved and cared for and continue living her life with joy instead of fear? How could I face the possibility of my own death without spiraling down into despair? How could I live fully for however long remained? Like Moshe, I went through all the stages. I denied being sick, I got angry, I bargained, I cried, and then I cried and I cried until finally I began to accept that this was my present reality. And I began to shift my attention to the blessings in my life. Now, this may sound strange, but during this time, there were many moments when I felt like the luckiest, unlucky person in the world. No doubt, to be a young woman in her prime who suddenly had cancer was extremely unlucky. But I was so lucky to have amazing doctors and health insurance and treatment options. Yes, it was unlucky to have a variant of the disease that required a radical medical intervention and a long stay in the hospital, but how lucky was I that it worked? And through it all, I had a loving network of family and friends who constantly reminded me that I was not traveling this difficult path alone. I also had my own spiritual resources to draw upon. How lucky that the God I believe in is a God of compassion and love and hope and strength and not a God who punishes us for some misdeed by sending cancer our way. How lucky I was that I knew songs that would nourish me and that I had rituals and a prayer life that could continue even when I was in the hospital, making my time there feel part of Jewish time, a continuation of my life and not a suspension of it. How lucky I am that my body, which once faced death, was later able to give birth. Our daughter now has a happy, healthy 3-month-old baby brother whom we all adore. The thing is, much of it was luck, a matter of chance out of my control. We don't know why some people get cancer and why certain treatments work for some people and not for others. When I was first diagnosed, many people in my congregation responded by saying, "How could this happen to you?" implying that as a rabbi, I somehow should be immune to life-threatening illnesses. That would have been nice. My response, however, was always, why wouldn't it happen to me? My story is in many ways about the random confluence of when and how the human body and disease and medicine work or don't work together. Much of it came down to luck, to chance, but not all of it. I didn't have a choice about having cancer, but I could choose how I would live once I received that diagnosis. Ultimately, Moshe didn't have a choice about when he would die, but he eventually realizes that he can choose how to spend his final moments. Moshe's story in confronting his own death is the story of Yom Kippur, being proximate to our fragility and our mortality and acknowledging that each of us has limited time. We ask, what will I do with the time that I have? Yom Kippur is a dress rehearsal for death. What better place for a dress rehearsal than jazz at Lincoln Center? In reenacting the urgency of the final moments of our lives, Yom Kippur challenges us to not wait for the ultimate unimaginable, but rather to ask these deep and difficult questions as Moshe did now, today, this evening. We ask, who am I? How do I want to live my life in whatever days I have left? What diminishes me as Moshe's envy of Joshua diminished him? What are my blessings and what blessings can I offer others? Blessings were, of course, Moshe's parting gifts to the children of Israel. Whose forgiveness must I seek and whom should I forgive? Moshe realized that while he could never take back all the time he spent troubling the children of Israel, nudging them, berating them, he could express his regret, his wish that he had done something different in that moment. And in doing so, he gave the Israelites an opportunity to express their regret for all the stress and strain they put him through. With sincere expressions of apology and forgiveness, reconciliation is possible. The ultimate question of this moment is, how can we do life well? How can we use our awareness of the ultimate unimaginable to act and speak with intention as a parent, a partner, a friend, a member of this community? The psychologist Erik Erikson wrote that the last stage of a person's psychosocial development is associated with the virtue of wisdom. Wisdom at its core is linked to sight. Wisdom enables a person to look back on their life with a sense of completeness, to see their experiences and their choices as part of a whole, and to look ahead toward death with an awareness of what will endure after they are gone. Toward the end of his final earthly encounter with God, Moshe pleaded, "Let me at least see the promised land." God responded, "In this point, I will comply with your wish." God thereupon imparted such strength to Moshe's eyes that he could see all of the land. What lay in the deep appeared to him above. The hidden was plainly in view. The distance was close at hand. He saw everything. How can we do life well? Perhaps once we've worked through the denial and the anger and the bargaining and the depression, legitimate responses we all have as human beings to a capricious world. Perhaps then we find our way to a little bit of wisdom. We find our way to greater awareness of what lies in the deep above, the hidden in plain sight, the distance that is close at hand. The point of Yom Kippur is that we don't need to be at death's door. We don't need cancer to help us get to that place. Perhaps all we need is an empty belly, an empty aron, and then with the proper intention, we too can stand on the mountaintop and glimpse a better view of how we want to live in the year ahead. We continue with Lecha Eli Teshukati, page 1 in our booklets.
Lecha Eli Teshukati בכך אשקי ואהבתי
לך ליבי בחילותי, לך רוחי הימני השמעתי.
לך ידי, לך רגלי, וממך היא תכונתי.
לך עצמי, לך Please rise. Baruch, page 207. Continue. Page 207. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'chalam asher b'yarom arim v'ravim. בחוכמה פותר שנים ובין המשלטים והחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשולתי גמרי.
הוא מעביר יום ומביא לילה, הוא מבדיל בין יום ובין הלילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך הוא ברוך שמו.
אליי, 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 אליי,
אברהם ישראל אמרת, תורינו ולמענו ולעבדות גל אדוני אלוהינו ושוכבנו בקומנו נשיאה.
ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך שמה
בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננת לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
לשמוע תשמעו. page 209. We continue the middle of page 210, ומלכותו ברצון.
ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם משה ומרים ובני ישראל, לך נושיע ושמחה רבה וענו גבורה, מי כמוך אלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהר בקודש, נורתי הים לפני משה, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימדוד לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך שמו השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום עמידנו מלכנו לחיים ולעוזרנו זוגת שלומך ותגננו וזדורנו עליך ראשינו.
ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני.
We're on page 212.
For on this day atonement shall be made for you to purify you from all your transgressions. In the presence of Adonai you shall be pure.
כי ביום הזה
כי ביום ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועל מה דברה קראותה, וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי בכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יש מרם ועולם, לעולם ועד ועד מים. ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמר קודשה לעילא לעילא מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבתה ונפמתה דמיין בעלמה וימרו
The Midah facing the ark between pages 213 to 221. 213 to 221. the ark open, it's an invitation for this beautiful piyut, Yale, page 223.
32.
אל מלך יושב על כיסא רחמים, מתנהג בחסידות, מוחל עוונות עמו, מעביר ראשון ראשון, מרבה מחילה לחטאים וסליחה לפושעים, עושה צדקות עם כל בשר ורוח, לא חרעתם תגמול. אל הורית לנו לומר 13, זכור לנו היום ברית 13, כמו שהודעת לענן מקדם, כמו שכתוב, וירד אדוני בענן, ויתייצב עמו שם, ויקרא בשם אדוני, ויעבור אדוני על פניו, ויקרא אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, אל אפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נוצר חסד לערבים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטאה ונאה.
Continue with the beautiful piyut Adon Salichot on page 3 of the booklet. Go to the booklet, page 3.
Adon Salichot bochen levavot goler amukot dover tzedakot katanu lefanecha rachem alenu katanu lefanecha rachem alenu
opened, page 233. We'll listen first to Shema Kolenu, and then we will repeat.
Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu Chus v'rachem וקבל ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו. השיבנו אדוני אליך חדש, חדש ימינו כקדם.
שמע ברחמים
Page 234, Ki Anu Amecha.
כי אנו עמך, אנו ועמך, אנו עבדיך, אנו כהניך,
Now comes a section of the service that is at the center. At the center of this day is the vidui, the viduim. Viduim means confessions. So it has two forms. Remember what are the forms in front of us? One is the ashamnu, and the other one is the alchet. You know, when we do like this. And I have a lot of problems with this. First of all, because what we say is terrible. We abuse, we betray, we're cruel, we destroy, we're bitter, we falsify, we gossip, we hate, we insult, we jeer, we kill, we lie, we mock, we neglect, we oppress, we pervert, we quarrel, rebel, we steal, we transgress, we are unkind, we are violent, we are wicked, we are extremists, we yearn to do evil, we are zealous for bad causes. Just in case you didn't know what we're saying, this is what we're saying. And we put a very sweet music to it. How did we get away with this? No, imagine if we were singing this in English. We abuse, we betray, we are cruel. Sounds funny, but that's what we have done. Maybe it's a little bit of the maror and the charoset of Pesach, you know? That this is so bitter, we put some honey around it with the music. So I always like to take this very seriously. First of all, as a rabbi, many times, I have to do the final confession for people. Two of the most incredible privilege that I had in my life is to do it for my mother and to do it for my dear, beloved friend, Rachel Kawa. And it's an opportunity to ask for forgiveness. And sometimes the person could say something, and sometimes the person could say the Shema. So that's where it comes from. a lot what you said before. It's a confession. Imagine that you don't know if you have a day after today. Imagine if we are living this as the last day, as we supposedly we should live all the days of our lives. So what are we confessing? I would be afraid to ask you how many of us are in therapy, because I would be afraid some people will not be in therapy, and then I will ask you what's wrong with you. Because after all, we are in the Upper West Side, and that's part of the practice. But what I'm talking about here, and this is serious, I'm also honeying this with some jokes, but it's serious. You know what, we are going to therapy and we've been kicking, around the subject for years. And we've been paying for that for years. And finally our heart is pounding, and we say what we needed to say for long. And of course, the therapist says, I know it. Because we were around this. So this is what it's all about. So I would like to take this seriously, because we are going to say this 5 times. And we could hide behind the music, or we can take it seriously. This is like peeling the onion. The more we peel it, the more we cry. So the first Hashamnu is our list. But whatever it is that comes to the surface, what is it that we have done? What are the things that we are conscious that we should be ashamed of, or we are ashamed of? This is about shame. This is about regret. We all have it. It's incredible. The Jewish people have created a day to touch the issue of forgiveness. So I really would like to invite, each time that we're going to say the Al-Chet and the Hashamnu, think, what is your list? And then the next, whatever you say was superficial. Go deeper. Go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. Go to the places that you're ashamed to tell your therapist. That's what we're looking for here. And I'm not joking. Because we all carry things that are painful in our hearts. And when we don't deal with them, we project it into others, our dark side. And the tradition says confess. And it's not to share with anybody here, it's between us and God. Remember, Kippur is between us and God. So it's an opportunity to be honest. For God's sake, be honest. Nobody will know, just you and whatever your definition of God is. So invite us to be in silence just 1 minute, 2 minutes. And go to your list. What would you say? What is the first layer, the first klipa? It's between you and God. With that list as our kavanah, we please rise for Hashamnu, page 235.
Dibarnu,
שקר.
Yai ra rai rai rai, yai ra rai rai rai, yai ra rai rai rai,
Yatsnura
Kizavnu, platsnu, maravnu, niatznu, sararnu, avinu, pashanu, sararnu, kishinu, oref. Ay ra rai rai rai, ay ra rai rai rai, ay 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 ay. Rashanu, shivatnu, tiavnu, tahinu, titanu.
Repeat after me. I am sorry. So sorry for being cynical and condescending, for enjoying putting people down. I am sorry. So sorry for abusing power, for not being sensitive, for being self-centered. I am sorry. So sorry for being absent, for engaging more with my devices than with my people, for being in my own world. I am sorry. So sorry for not reacting in front of cruelty, for being passive, for thinking that if I'm okay, everybody else is okay too.
Thinking if I am okay, everybody else is okay too.
I am sorry. So sorry. Continue in silence. With the same intention of honesty, absolute and brutal honesty. Let's continue with the Al-Khed on page 237. There is a long list here. Don't hide behind the words. Al-Khed implies that we had good intentions, but we failed. What are the good intentions that we had, but we failed? We say our own Al-Khed. Al-Khed shegatanu lefanecha.
Al
שחטאנו לפניך, ידענו לפניך, על שידענו שחטאנו לפניך, ועל כן שידענו לפניך.
Page 7 in our booklets. We sin against you when we sin against ourselves and each other. For our failures of truth, O God, we ask forgiveness. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for projecting emotions we do not feel.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך, for using the sins of others to excuse our own.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for denying our responsibility for our own misfortunes.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך, for refusing to admit our share in the troubles of others.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for condemning in our children the faults we tolerate in ourselves.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך, for condemning our parents the faults we tolerate in ourselves.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for passing judgment without knowledge of the facts.
ועל
Al
חטא
chet
שחטאנו
shechatanu
לפניך,
lefanecha,
for
for remembering the price of
things
things but forgetting their value. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for teaching our children everything but the meaning of life.
ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך, for leaving our egos better than the truth.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for not respecting God's image in every human being.
ועל
Al
חטא
chet
שחטאנו
shechatanu
לפניך,
lefanecha,
for
for
running to do violence, yet crawling to make peace.
ועל כולם אנעשה לכבוד, סלח לנו, מקל לנו, מקבל לנו.
Page 243, Avinu Malkeinu, the words on the page or the words in our hearts.
אבינו מלכנו לפניך, אבינו מלכנו, אין לנו מלך אלא אתה. אבינו מלכנו זה עמנו למען שמך, אבינו מלכנו קדש עלינו על הטובה. אבינו מלכנו אבינו מלכנו אבינו מלכנו אבינו מלכנו אבינו מלכנו אבינו מלכנו למראה לכל עוונותינו, אבינו מלכנו לבנו, אבינו מלכנו בגדנו בנועמך, אבינו מלכנו שלח רפואה שלמה לחולי ימיך, אבינו מלכנו זוכרנו וזיכרוננו לפניך, אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר חיים טובים, אבינו מלכנו ובזמר יולד ישכון, אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר פרנסה וכלכלה, אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר זכויות, אבינו מלכנו וזה בסליחה ובחילה, אבינו מלכנו אבינו מלכנו כניסה אבינו אבינו חוס ורחם עלינו, אבינו קבל ורחם ורצון את תפילתנו, אבינו מלכנו מלכנו
Please turn to page 245 for Kaddish Shalem.
יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, בעלמא דברה כאילו תבמלך מלכותה, בחייכון ובמכון ובכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן, יהי שמרה מברך, לעלמא מעלמיה,
השתבח ותואר ותרמה ונעשה ותדר ודלה ודלה שמי קודשה ולעלה מן כל ברכתה ושלתה ושמחתה ונחמתה נביאם בעלמא ואמרו תתקבל אצלו תורמתו לכל ישראל כמו שמעיה ואמרו
אמן. יהי שלום רב מן שמיים וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
עושה שלום למען,
הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
246
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים כתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד,
Mourners and those observing a yard site should remain standing. Kaddish Atonement, page 247. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. V'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute. V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayed echol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'alam olmei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shemeda kudusha, b'richu, la'ela, la'ela, mikol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom B'mramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru Amen.
I always enjoy, that's a treat for you. It's the first time here. You are with Ari at jazz. Ha! It's just a treat. So what about the Rosh Hashanah without mics? What do you say? It's okay? We can do it? If they're here, board members or past board members, I mean pushing it, board members or past board members, please stand up for a second. Board members or past board members. Let's all say thank you. But anyway, I will ask you for some help in a moment. It's not for free. So, over the past few days, we've been addressing the challenges we face as a country, locally and globally. Who would imagine that the word sanctuary would become so important? More than a place, a safe space to ponder these once unimaginable circumstances and be guided to search for solutions. A foundation from which we can spring into action as a community to fight to create the world we wish to be part of, that we wish to leave future generations, to get out of this dark mendacity and to go back to the aspirational. The BJ community is a sanctuary, larger, stronger, more vibrant, and more vital than ever. The engines of this community are fueled by you. Your wisdom, your work, your welcome, and yes, your money. Every dollar raised through tonight, Kol Nidre Partnership Appeal, each year is needed for BJ to be BJ. For all the important work that we do with you, for you, and for so many others. For BJ to remain vibrant, accessible, affordable, and financially sustainable, we need each of you to participate, to stretch, to imagine with us what is possible to help to make it happen. Who could imagine 10 years ago that we would be home under one roof in our historic campus? And who would imagine 10 years ago that the landscape of Jewish life and American culture and politics would be so fraught? And yet here we are in community, praying together, marching together, caring together, sharing together. For more than 3 decades, BJ has been preparing for this moment, building strength through prayer and music, through community and through action. We're just starting the year 4 of our 7-year strategic plan. We have already achieved almost 90% of our programmatic vision. The incredible skills and deep motivation of our amazing professional staff, now completed by the arrival of Rabbi Erin Glazer. As I said, welcome her with open arms, as you see her. As I mentioned before, I was terrified 24 years ago when I was in her position. And any smile helps. We together with your passion and forceful response to our cause, we bring ourselves a different reality. How we know our vision is strong, clear, and relevant, not just for us, not just for Jews, but for a larger world who needs our collective strength and wisdom to fight on the many front lines and to forge a new Jewish pathway. Our work is vibrant and it ripples out to the world. We are constantly asked by other shuls around the country and around the world to share our insights. I can bear witness to this in this moment. As you know, at this time, I am part-time in New York, and when I'm not here, I'm leading Jewish mindfulness retreats in nature and also doing mentoring through Jewish lenses. And in this moment, I don't know what happened, but many rabbis imagine that I have more free time, so they are calling me. They're calling me from different parts of the world. And you know what I'm most amazed? They know our website. And they know, and they come to me with specific questions about things that we've done 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 5 years ago. How did you do it? Why did you do it? I'm always amazed how much they're looking and they want to learn. Whatever we do here has an impact somewhere there that we don't even know that exists. All of this is supported, all this vision, all this incredible movement is supported by the Kol Nidre partnership. I hope have you seen this? You have it, the Kol Hadash? I hope you get one outside. So a few highlights of what we have here. The Jewish Home Project, we are embracing diversity of Jewish identity to forge new models and new generations of Jewish life. Through Shabbat at BJ and at home, through classes and conversation for grandparents, and by developing tools and resources to help all kinds of families incorporate more Jewish into their lives. Through our expanded community engagement initiative, we are connecting more deeply with more Chevre and a larger Jewish community and creating more ways for BJ members to connect with each other, whether through Aviv, the new name for our 20s and 30s group, to our expanded spiritual pastoral support, our Israel programming. You know, we're one of the few, I don't know if there's any other congregation in America that has their own Shaliach. We have our own Israel desk in our office. Through Panim, we are building upon the legacies of Abraham Joshua Heschel and Marshall Meyer embracing our dual role as Jews and active citizens, locally, nationally, and beyond, working with immigrants and refugees, sheltering and feeding those in need, delving deeply into racial justice, including challenges within our own community, and exploring the role of Jewish values in civic life. And the Center for Jewish Prayer and Spirituality, in just the first year, has developed a myriad of opportunities to explore prayer through music and mindfulness in large and small groups for novices and experts alike. The Family Life and Learning team now has the resources and support to radically experience the engagement and education for families. And more and more and more. You know that we put every year, BJ puts every year $500,000 to support those who cannot go to retreats, to take classes, to the Hebrew school. We stretch, BJ stretch so much to always trying as much as we can to say yes to everybody. And this doesn't happen just by magic. Happened because tonight, we have 4 locations. Tonight, in these 4 locations, we're deciding what is going to happen. 20% of the annual budget is collected tonight. Your participation matters at any level. And not everybody gives, which is it's hard for me to understand. There are 2 things that I'm going to speak now as an American, because now I'm an American expat. But as an American that is here, as an American citizen, the other day when I went voting, I always, even when I had a green card, and I couldn't vote, I would go to the voting polls, put my kippah, and say, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shecheyanu vekimanu ve'higanu lazman hazeh. I just don't get how come there are people who don't vote in this country. Just kills me. I don't get it. I grew up in a fascist regime. It's a responsibility, our privilege, and now more than ever. So that's one thing that I don't understand. Locally, I don't understand how come people who belong to BJ don't support BJ. Really, I don't understand. Get out of BJ and to see what's out there. I believe that supporting BJ is one of the most incredible investments that we could do for the Jewish future. Not only for ourselves in the way that we influence others. That's what I'm saying to you. Stretch, my friends. We don't have a separation between matter and spirit in Judaism. Stretch. You have your card. And you know what to do. And I'm going to ask here the ushers, volunteers. I'm going to ask also past board members to walk around and collect the cards. Go upstairs. We are short of people, so since you volunteered before, I'm going to volunteering you again. Somebody goes upstairs here. But let me tell you, we're talking about the imagine. I know that you imagine a number when you came here. Wrong image. Push higher. Push yourself. We decide what's going to happen in this community next year. Push yourself. And whatever we do, it's part of our prayer. So I'm asking you, please, please, not to talk. Pass the cards to the center. There are people with baskets, and then there are going to be board members also, walking around with the card high, so everybody could give. Let's be generous with our BJ community as the musicians support are giving with some of the most beautiful music of Yom Kippur.
A few brief announcements. Please return your machzorim and songbooks to the ushers. Yom Kippur services begin at 9 a.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, September 19th, at the locations on your entrance cards. Please note that the booklets have an incorrect time. Mincha and Ne'ilah services tomorrow begin at 5 p.m. at the location on your cards. Kol Nidre pledge cards will be collected throughout the day at all locations. Please place them in the marked containers near the entrance. Your generous support helps sustain our community. Thank you. Lastly, there's a beautiful tradition to begin preparing for the Sukkot holiday immediately after Yom Kippur. We invite you to embrace the mitzvah of the lulav and etrog. Lulav and etrog sets imported from Israel can be purchased at Westside Judaica or flowers by special arrangement. We close with Mi'el Kamocha, page 5 in your booklet.
Wait 1 second. Just want to say, because Ari just explained to me that maybe there are not enough copies, but there are some copies out there, but there's being sent electronically. It's very important that you see this. Also, I want to say, Jerry Nadler, thank you. I just want to say thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor that you're a congressman. It's an honor that you're a BJ member. And more than ever, we are looking at a human being with integrity that can hold the truth and believes in the dreams of the aspirational as America and as a Jew. So for all that, thank you, Jerry. Now, at the count of 3, can we say, welcome, Erin? 1, 2, 3. Welcome. You see, nice people.
Yes.
So we'll conclude our tefillah with Miel Kamocha, yes? Miel Kamocha, page 5 here. Come אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי כל רוחות בשר ודם, dear God and God of our ancestors, God of the spirit of all humankind, help us to redeem that which is aspirational. Help us to redeem the value of the word, of real conversation. Help us to redeem the truth. Help us to understand the difference between our egos and our spirit. When is that we're acting from one place or one from the other? Help us in this night, the most sacred night of the Jewish calendar, to be connected with our vulnerability. To understand that we are all Shvurei Lev, that we are all broken souls in search of some meaning and peace. Grant your blessings of consolation to those who are missing a loved one. May their memories endure. Help to bring strength and healing to those who are sick. Help us all to give everything we have to redeem humanity, this country, Medinat Israel. Grant your blessings upon Medinat Israel, which just its existence is a miracle. May wisdom arise where people will be able to talk to each other in respect, where minorities will find their place, where one day kids will not have to go to war anymore, and mothers and fathers, whether Jewish, Arabs, Palestinians, that live in the country, will not have to stand anymore in sorrow and pain. Help us to make meaning out of absurdity. Help us to find purpose even in the middle of despair. And help us to find the courage to listen to the whisper of forgiveness and to give forgiveness when it's asked from us. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. אמן. שנה טובה וחתימה טובה.